Hey everybody, Brian here from AV Home. This is going to be my very first YouTube video, and today I want to talk to you about a bookshelf speaker that has become something of a phenomenon on the internet lately, and that is the Buchardt Audio S400. I'm not going to go into all the specs and details. If you want to get into that, you can check out the website, or you can go watch Zero Fidelity. Z Reviews did a review on it. Thomas and Stereo, I think he did more of an overview like I'm going to do. So if you haven't watched those videos, go check them out and then come back and you can see my opinion on this as well. I wasn't going to do a video on this if I didn't have anything to add to the conversation. All those guys covered a lot of stuff and I pretty much agree with everything they said. I just wanted to touch on a few things that I found interesting in this speaker. Now, first of all, this speaker had so much hype behind it that it was pretty unbelievable. They're talking about the bass. Oh my gosh, the bass is just incredible, and the hype made the speaker sound like it was the greatest speaker ever made. Right. So I had an opportunity to get a pair of these, check it out for myself, and for the most part, it stands up to pretty much everything they said. It is the best sounding bookshelf speaker of this size that I have ever heard in this price range. Is it the best speaker in this price range? I don't know about that. I haven't heard all the speakers in this price range, and I'm sure there's some towers that could probably match the performance of this. They do. I noticed that they will say that the speaker in a lot of the reviews they say it sounds like a tower. It sounds much bigger. That's true. It does sound a lot bigger than it is. Does it sound like a tower? If you took this speaker and you kind of imagine that it was a tower, like it had the bottom half of a tower in there, yeah, I can imagine it does sound like that. But in one aspect, I think saying it sounds like a tower speaker cuts it a little short because it actually sounds better than some tower speakers. And the reason why is really not just the bass performance, but how the bass performance continues into the mid range. A lot of bookshelf speakers they can make low bass, but it always seems like it's at the expense of mid-range body. It loses that tonality, that chestiness, that density in the mid-range, and it makes it sound a little bit thin. This doesn't do that. Its bass performance is solid and consistent throughout its entire frequency range. When you have a double bass guitar and it's playing, it's plucking away in the low string, you're going to feel it through the woofer and the passive radiator. It's going to put out that output and it's going to have good body. But when that same double bass artist goes up and the tonality starts to go into the frequencies of the mid range, you don't lose the body of the bass. You keep the body of the bass. You keep that chestiness, that density that normally you would lose in a bookshelf speaker. It doesn't sound like it's thinned out or pushed back in the soundstage. It keeps its position in the soundstage the entire time. And that goes for vocals too. Vocals have the chestiness and the body that they should have in a real life performance. They mentioned the dynamics of the speaker. It does have dynamics, but not so much that it sounds like it's right in your face, like you're right front row, like a Klipsch or especially a Klipsch Heritage or even an RP series Klipsch, where it feels like you're right front row or a live performance. This puts you back a couple rows, not as far back as some other laid back speakers. But it does have some dynamics. Like I think Sean mentioned, it's as if Buchardt Audio took a list of all the things that audiophiles like in a speaker, the highs, they should be detailed but not harsh or overly splashy, and not too far forward but not too far back. The mid-range should be detailed, but it should have depth and body but not sound muffled. The bass should hit low and have density and fullness but not be bloated. It's as if they took all of those criteria and crammed it into as small of a box as they possibly could. And that's really what this speaker is all about. It is not just full range, but very good sounding, neutral, full range. That also, because it's so compact, it almost takes on the tonality of a coaxial speaker. It's almost as if if you have them up on stands, you're sitting back. It's almost as if you're hearing a coaxial speaker that has great bass and mid range without any of the deficiencies of a coaxial speaker. Um, Another good thing I like about this, 4 ohms, right? Finally, amps are getting cheap, power is getting cheap. You have the shit Vidar that puts out 100 ohms in 8 or 100 watts into 8 ohms, 200 watts into 4 ohms. It's a perfect match for this speaker. I believe it's $699. I'll link to it down down below. What else I wanted to say about this speaker? Oh, the break-in period. Maybe I don't believe in super long break-in periods, but I see people worried about, well, am I going to have time to figure out if I like this speaker before I have to return it? Absolutely. You're going to know whether you love this speaker or not way before 100 hours on this. You're going to be able to see how good it is before 100 hours. It's not going to happen in the first day or so. It does take a little bit longer than most speakers to break in, but it's not dozens and hundreds of hours. Who is the speaker targeted at? I think this speaker is targeted at someone who wants great sound, great full hi-fi sound, a very small speaker, obviously. What would I compare this with? I would say there's no passive bookshelf speaker I have heard compares with this speaker for its size, right? You've got to go into a bigger monitor speaker to match the performance of the speaker. Maybe the LS50 wireless, right? But I would take this speaker with a shit Vidar amp, Saga preamp, and a Modi 3 DAC over an LS50 wireless any day of the week. In fact, I was comparing this downstairs with my Klipsch Heritage Forte 3s, and I gotta tell you, they have a lot more in common than they do different. They do a lot of things very similar, and it all goes back to checking those boxes, those audiophile boxes of what people like, sounds people like. The Klipsch Forte does that at a very high level. This does that, not at the level of the Klipsch Forte, but they have a lot in common, not just the passive radiator either. I was going back and forth with them, and I was very impressed. The differences are obviously just the Klipsch is a much bigger speaker. So although this sounds big, it does not sound as big as the Forte 3. The Klipsch is a three-way design with a horn mid-range. So it has a lot better separation of details, where this a lot of the details will be kind of homogeneous in the sound stage. Bass, I mean, pretty much everything. This does, if this was a 8 in everything, then the Forte 3 is a 9 or 10, right? But it's not embarrassed by the Forte 3 at all. How does this stack up to the Klipsch RP-600M, right? What do I get from going from $550 to $1,800? Well, pretty much, again, I'll go back to that checklist. And a lot of it has to do with the bass control, especially through the mid-range of this speaker. The 600M is very lively and dynamic, but it does not have that body, that depth that this speaker has all throughout the range, frequency range. The highs on this speaker is the tweeter is going to be more neutral, whereas the 600M is more forward and more the directivity affects it more, whereas this is more spread. So if you get up and walk around, again, this stays the same tonally, whereas the 600M will change somewhat. Let's talk about the looks of it. It's very small. It's flat black. This speaker is perfect for a living room where you have a spousal acceptance factor to deal with, where really no speakers really wanted, right? You would love to have towers in there, but towers are not going to happen. This, you get this speaker, a couple stands with the shit Vidar amp and Saga, which are also very compact. And you've got a great sounding system that doesn't take up a lot of space, matches with a lot of decor, right? You don't have 5 different kinds of wood going on between your speakers and your rack and your floor and your picture frames and everything. This is flat black. This kind of just disappears. Would this be my pick if no holds barred, my own room for $2,000? I don't know. I haven't tried everything for $2,000 yet, but this sure is very, very good. This raises the bar for bookshelf speakers of what's possible. So all you other manufacturers out there, right? I mean, all you guys, all you big manufacturers out there, heads up. Hey, why can't you do mid-range bass like this guy? Anyway, guys, this is a great speaker, and it's what is called in the industry a disruptive product, right? And not just disruptive in its price range, but disruptive in what you always expected from a bookshelf speaker. You always thought, well, even if the bookshelf speaker had bass, it's got great bass for a bookshelf. It sounds full, but it still sounds like a bookshelf. Again, this doesn't sound like a bookshelf. And so this is the only bookshelf that I've heard that doesn't sound like a bookshelf, which sounds kind of crazy to me. Why are we, all these years of bookshelf speakers, now this disruptive product breaks that mold? And so from now on, as I'm listening to bookshelf speakers, this is the standard I'm going to hold them up against, right? This is the new benchmark, in my opinion, for how a bookshelf speaker can sound. Even going into bigger monitor speakers, this is going to be the standard in which I measure them by. It's that good. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I have a lot more content coming up, so please subscribe, hit the little bell down there to let you know when my stuff's uploaded, and comment down below, tell me what you think. Have you owned this speaker before? Do you want to buy this speaker? Are you comparing it to other speakers? Have you compared it to other speakers and you sent them back, you didn't like them? Whatever. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.